the New York Studio School. And I have the privilege also of teaching with him the summer before last, Pam and I, at the International School in Italy. And it was one of the great experiences of my life. I can't think of anybody who was affected by paintings more than Stanley in the last few years. And it's been a great honor to have a chance to talk to him about painting and talk to him about my work. I think Stanley Lewis is an explorer, and I really admire that. I think you'll feel that way after you hear him talk today. This is Stanley Lewis.
All right, well now, the way I have it planned is I'll show some of my paintings, and I've shown these slides before, and I never get through the whole group of slides because after I show mine, then I wanted to get right into Watteau. And then I have some other painters related to Watteau, and I get into, tend to wander here and there. But I do want to spend a little time at least showing you what my painting is like. I think that's important, but kind of, yeah, so there's. These are the Watteaus down here. Oh, all right, so we can go fast. Now this is a painting I did in high school. So and we'll go really fast here. You might, yeah. And so then this is a painting which wasn't done at this point, just last spring. And I just kind of wanted to make the point that I really have a kind of I haven't changed that much in basic ways, and I think what it means is that people have a natural way of painting, and everybody here does, everyone in the room does, and it's the way you do things, the way you talk, the way you write. It's your natural, and so I definitely do. I have a way of. The other painting wasn't that different than this, and that's a long time. But I've expanded it, I think. Now this is a fairly large painting, and it wasn't done at this point, and it shows a little bit the way I'm working, and I don't want to get too much onto this, but I tend to rely a lot on the surface, and I repaint a lot, so that the paint gets thicker and thicker, and then when I make changes, like you can see when I cut, I usually, and now this is what Blake we were kind of talking about. The thing that I think is different about some painters than other painters, if you rely on trying to find where things appear to you as you're working, so that you notice after a while that you're drawing something or painting something and there isn't enough room. Have you ever experienced that? How can I explain that? Oh, well, maybe what happened here. Let's say I was painting you, and I worked on you for a while, and I blocked in the chairs and this stand here. It isn't a given. It's not given like it is in a photograph. Exactly what the distance between things is as you perceive them. And as you paint, your perception seems to change. Your mind actually, I think, something happens in your mind so that you can't figure out what the distance between 2 points is. And one way to try to figure it out is to try to paint everything in between. And it always turns out that I haven't gotten it right, and then that's why I would make cuts, because I would paint you for a day and work my the way over to here, and then realized I didn't have enough room. And then I think I make an arbitrary decision, which I'm not proud of this. This would be one of my big weaknesses. I don't want to repaint everything I've done, because I figure I will never get done. And that's not smart. And you never tell that. You know, you're always telling the students not to do this, but I always do it. So I get upset, and I just cut the painting and then spread it apart and put more canvas in. And I've been doing that, so it's not, I don't enjoy doing it because it's, but I've gotten used to it. So that's why there are, you can't, I don't know if you can see I keep shifting parts around. Well, you can see it. And especially this thing, but you know, I noticed in discussing with people, you can't really get this idea across because it's, you'd have to spend a lot of time with somebody and work with somebody and then share experiences to really understand what I'm saying here. But I just feel that, well, let me try it this way, is that don't we all admit that looking at things isn't the same as taking a photograph of them? That's basically the point. When you look, you see differently than a camera does. And you might think there's a certain distance or way things are sitting, but actually, once you start painting, it seems very fluctuating. Everything seems to be moving, and you can't fix things as clearly as you might think, because someone, a person who wasn't painting would say, "What's the problem? You know, it's just like taking a photograph. You just take what's there and you stick it over here." But it doesn't turn out that way. And that's what I think makes painting important, and not like photography. And but photography, for all its greatness, and we certainly are, I'm not downing great art photography, is really a problem for painters. Painting and photography are not, are really at odds, I feel. So, well, now the next slide is the final. Oh, okay, that's good. I thought I had a slide of that when it was done, but so now these are paintings I did last spring in Virginia, and so I'll just show them to you. I was up on a hill, it snowed, and I worked through the snow, and then the next one was the same. Oh, okay, this is a little mistaken. Now this one is the finished painting of the one I showed. It's actually, it's bigger than it is, but not that. I mean, the actual painting is about that. It's pretty big. It's the biggest landscape I ever did. Then this was the spring painting of the same scene up above the campus. And this was a painting only that big of right next to my house, right, you know, out next to the steps. And in March, I guess, with snow. And okay. Then this is a painting of the same spot as the snow melted, and then this sort of just the beginning of spring. Okay. And this is a painting I did last summer. And okay, keep going. I have these long paintings that I work on that you just saw that start around 1 o'clock or so, and they're very tedious, and I rework them, and I work on the paintings for a couple months. But then at the end of the day, I try to make small paintings fast, using up the paint that I have. And so this is an example of a painting done in about half an hour from the very same spot that the last painting was. And the painting before, I think, looks better than it does on this slide. It looks so dry, but this one definitely looks better, I think. And that's my natural way of painting. And I like this, and it's the most straightforward. And these are little, like this. Okay. ways, I feel I'm better at drawing than I'm at painting, and I like dark and light. I think my black and white feeling is better than my painting, my colors. And this is a pen and ink drawing I did from the studio that I was given a really interesting studio right in the middle of the campus, really, overlooking it. And so I did this drawing when it snowed, and it was unusual because the snow wasn't going to stay. So that was 2 afternoons, I guess, and then that's about this big. Okay. And then I did another one later, which I worked on much longer. You know, we were having this conversation just before we came in here about different ways that, so here's the conversation. It's something to do with, and this picture is a good example of it. I'm interested in keeping the verticals vertical, even though, and this doesn't make sense with other things I've said, and I keep the verticals straight. Now, okay, but I loved it that this window opened up. And when I opened up the window because it was too hot, it got hot in there, I thought the way the window pushed against the space was so exciting, and I thought to myself, I'll never have a more interesting situation. And here's where I didn't follow, this is where I bent the angles. And this is what we were talking about. I don't want to do that, but because what's really happening is, this is one, this had to have been at the same axis as that. Does anybody follow what I'm talking about? But when I bent it, it seemed enough at odds, so I allowed it to shift. So I was able to kind of get away with having a shifting viewpoint, which otherwise I have trouble with. And all still life painters have problems with this. What do you do with with all the angles, how they meet? Because when they widen out in your vision, they tilt, and it's extremely hard to know what to do, and it's an unsolvable problem, I think. So that's this was a